Greetings, Alex Will 64 here again. So, the aim of this video and a lot of these posts is to simplify things that people overcomplicate. Because I've heard people speak about the Cliff-Off and the Sephiroth and all these Kabbalistic ideas and concepts, but they don't simplify them and they sound confusing to me. They sound over intricate, and it doesn't have to be, just for the sake of sounding smarter than other people. No, you can simplify this. And the way that I'm simplifying it is just by doing a law of correspondence here. Because when you see an isomorphism, which is where two things or two concepts have a correlation, then it's like you can better understand both things in the isomorphism. So yes, this relates directly to computing and computers. This deals directly with the command line or the terminal part of your device. So if you're able to go into your command line, and it's usually a black screen with, either white text or green text, depending on what type of computer or device you're on, that's where you're able to program the entire device at its deepest, most depthical level. Now, this is the root of the computer. This is the root system of the computer. Now, on the flip side is the graphical user interface, which is how most people, even if they know nothing about the terminal, they're using the graphical user interface to operate and use the computer or the device. So this is where the matching between the command line and the graphical user interface, GUI, are matched together. And this is how I go about trying to relate things to other people, where I deal with something where I know is familiar and universal, and then relate it to something that's not so known, or it's secret, or it's something where it's not on the surface of people's attention spans, or to make a connection between what's readily there and what's not readily understood. So in this situation, once again, you have a connection between the way a computer works and the way that the reality or the mind works. So you have a cause and effect situation. The command line or the root or the terminal or the cliff off is the root system for the graphical user interface or the physical world. This is how this works. It's proven right here in computation itself. Now, I'm also dealing with semiosis or semiology, dealing with the study of meaning. So you look at a terminal and it's usually black. Like I said, it's that black screen or that command line, it's that black screen with the green or white lettering on it. So that's your dark side right there. That is where the core of it is. So people that want to be in the occult, like some of them like to look like they're dark or they're monstrous or they're spooky. It really is simplified here in this symbol of the terminal or command line of a computer. Because when you say computer, you're saying thinker, processor. Your unit or your device is thinking and processing. So there's a dark side to it, terminal, and there's a light side to it, which you're using the graphical user interface, which is the monitor screen where all the graphics are for that computer or device. So, and then, like I said, people don't usually use the terminal. They usually use the GUI. Now, going back to the clip-off and the Kabbalah. So in this guy's book, Moshe Idel's Primeval Evil in Kabbalah, he's talking about, Kabbalah in its etymology, which means husk or shell, or it's also known as Hitzanium, this dark space that precedes creation. So again, this is directly corresponding to the terminal, which precedes everything that is created or seen on your monitor screen on the graphical user interface, the icons, the videos, the documents, the PDFs, music files. It precedes that. So just like the clip off or the Hitzanium or the shell, the husk precedes creation, the terminal or the command line in your computer or device precedes the graphics that you see on your monitor screen. It's the same concept. I love isomorphism. So when you're dealing with concepts like primordial or primeval or before creation, your command line in your computer is showing you that process, or is showing you it's a symbol of that, of your own mind. So anybody talking this occult stuff or this primeval or primordial, point them to the command line in a computer so you can show exactly how that works, because you use your command line to control the entire device as opposed to just using graphics to operate your computer device. You know what I'm saying? So the extent of your dark side is basically the darkness or the command line of reality or existence itself that precedes physical space-time creation or anything related to that. That's what it is. Stop letting people complicate it for you. Now, getting back to the word occult, which it can definitely mean secret or hidden culture or whatever you want to say about it, I'm going to deal with it as it is showing me here when it comes to words, narrative linguistics, codes, because for me, the occult is nothing but secret functions, secret algorithms, secret formulae. You know what I'm saying? Secret processes, secret or hidden workings, which your command line or your terminal of your computer or device does all day. So, and then also the word terminal itself, that gives you a clue about what it is. It's dealing with death and termination, terminal. It's telling you. You just got to pay attention to the words being used here. So that's the extent for me of the occult. You want to make it spooky and dark and haunting and all that, be my guest, but you could keep it simple. Now, this is where I need to also speak about paradigms and preferences. Now, there are people, most people in the world, with dealing with this concept or metaphor, they would rather have their life and operate their life through the GUI, the graphical user interface. So that means they would rather just stick with the physical and the space-time continuum or the physical realm to operate and understand their existence. Fine, cool. But then there's the choice to go into the command prompt or the command line or the terminal of existence and deal with all those workings, those secret codes, secret formulas, secret algorithms, and you could do it like that. But when it comes to me and preference, we're dealing with preference. So people prefer the GUI. Most people, they prefer the GUI over the terminal. And then there's that select few that are initiated into the terminal or the command line. It's all preference. It is all your preference, whatever you prefer. There's people that don't even go into the terminal or command line their whole time of having a computer or a device. And they usually hand it over to like a, IT person or somebody that knows computers. And then they go into their command line and work it the way they need to work it. But also knowing the history of computers just within the 20th century going into the 21st. So when you're dealing with the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they were dealing with the command line and the terminal exclusively. And then they start bringing in graphics, for the device to generate graphics to represent large amounts of code. So when you look on your computer screen now and you're watching a person on a video, that's a large amount of code that is behind that. And it deals with that same pattern with the clip off and the Kabbalah and dealing with the Sephiroth. This is the tree behind the tree. Or shall I say, as is depicted in one of these pics in this video with the cliff off looking more like a root system rather than a tree behind a tree. It's a root system, huh? Now, another thing I want you to pay attention to is, let's bring it back to the Matrix, because I got a picture in here where it's a black screen and it got green letters on it. If you go into just the first Matrix movie alone, you see like Cypher and the rest of the people in the Nebuchadnezzar in the Matrix, and they're reading the screens, and all they're reading is this descending code. And they can point out and read that it's talking about a blonde, a brunette, a house, a dog, the sky, the tree, and they're just reading code. They're not looking at a graphical user interface to translate that into, polygonic or geometric images. Now, the GUI, what does that relate to? The physical dimension. So that's why we have this GUI, or this graphical user interface, to simplify or to have easier navigation with the computer itself. So it's a translation of all those, those codes and those algorithms and those procedures, those secret occult procedures in the terminal and command line, and it's being translated into this graphical content that you see on your monitor that you use to operate your computer. And this is why I came out with an essay a few years ago entitled Space-Time User Interface. So instead of GUI for the computer, we can use STUI for the physical space-time dimension that we find ourselves in, third dimension, fourth dimension that we find ourselves in. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I wanted to say about this whole thing about the occult. It's basically the command line of the physical. The command line or terminal, just like the clip-off or the hitsonium, precedes the GUI or the STUI, or the creation that you see in the graphical user interface of our reality, and then also the monitor screen of your device. This is what this is talking about. It is the husk. Clip-off means husk or shell. So the command line is the shell, or the terminal is the husk that precedes the graphical creation that you see on your computer screen. This is what this is all about. So for those of us that know about the occult of this situation, we know how to deal with those secret codes or secret algorithms or secret processes, secret formulae. That's what the occult is, to reiterate myself. So that's all I wanted to say, and hopefully this helps you understand the occult.